Hi there everybody, it's Martin Twycross, here with another video short, bringing you practical, down-to-earth teachings on mediumship and development without the fluff. So in today's video, which I've titled, Is it Psychic or Is it from Spirit? I want to talk about a commonly asked question that I get asked from students. How do I know that what I'm getting is coming from the spirit world, is mediumistic, mediumship, or how do I know that I'm not just getting it psychically? How can we tell the difference? So that's the topic for today. To understand the differences between the psychic and mediumistic links, how to tell where you're working, and how to make sure that if we're doing mediumship, we stay on the mediumistic link. So that's what I'm going to cover in today's video. So if that sounds interesting to you, then do stay with me. Okay, today's video. Is it psychic or is it mediumship? Did I get it from spirit? Or did it get on the psychic level? So let's talk about the differences between the psychic link and what we call the mediumistic link, which is what we're using with mediumship. So the mediumistic link is where we link to the spirit world. The mediumistic link is where we link to an individual mind within the spirit world and receive information that flows from spirit. It is a mind-to-mind link. So with the mediumistic link, with mediumship, the information is coming from minds within the spirit world. With the psychic link, we're linking to the energy of a person, the energy of an object, which what we call psychometry, or the energy of a place, where we're tuning into the vibrations of a place to receive impressions. So if we have a person in front of us, then we can link into their energy field, we can link into what we call their aura, we can receive information even through the voice, even if they're not with us. If you're doing it on a telephone, you get information from the voice psychically. So that information is received from the energy field of a person in front of you, the energy of a sitter. So I want to point out as well that some mediums I know will always ask you for an object. When you go for a sitting, can you give me something to hold on to? Your watch, your ring, your keys. And for me, I never do that when I'm doing mediumship, because when you touch that object, you're working with psychometry. You're working psychically. So if you take an object from somebody, you're more likely to start working psychically. And for me, mediumship is mind to mind. I don't need any tools, any props to work with spirit. All I need is my mind, to move my mind to the spirit world, to blend with them. That's all I want when I'm working mediumistically. So the other thing I want to point out as well is even when we're working as a medium, and there's always a psychic link. If we're talking to somebody, a sitter or a recipient, if there's somebody in front of us we're working with, if somebody is answering us up, there is always a psychic link. We cannot remove it. We cannot isolate it. So whenever I'm doing mediumship with a sitter, there's always a psychic link with the sitter. Whenever I'm doing mediumship on platform and I'm talking to a recipient, I have a psychic link with that recipient. We can't avoid it. It's important to recognize that fact. And something else I want to talk about is our comfort zone plays a great part, a great influence, because some people prefer to work on the psychic level, and that is naturally where they will go. We tend to go where we feel most comfortable. So if you've always worked on the psychic level, you often find with your mediumship that you drop to the psychic naturally because it's the area you're most comfortable. It's the area where you're used to working. Similarly, if you prefer to work with mediumship like I do, I prefer to do mediumistic sittings, I prefer to work with mediumship. If you work with mediumship all the time, that's where your mind will naturally go. That's your comfort zone. That's where we enjoy being. I enjoy being blended with spirit. That's what I like to do. That's the purpose of my sittings. I very rarely do a purely psychic sitting because I love mediumship. And that's where my, if you like, my comfort zone is. So that will draw us to where we are most comfortable. So people ask me, how can I tell if I'm receiving the information on the psychic or the mediumistic link? Now the energies are different. The mediumistic link is harder to create, it's harder to hold. It needs something called power, which is like a fuel for mediumship. Power manifests the spirit world to us. So mediumship only works for a limited period of time, provided we have power to sustain it. So mediumship is a mediumistic link is harder to create and hold than a psychic link. And mediumship is generally an energized, excited, vibrant state. So when we're doing mediumship, we're like a hyper version of ourselves. We're like a more energized version of ourselves. But when we're doing psychic work, we can be in a slightly more passive state. And psychic is easier to access because the vast majority of students start in awareness circles. The vast majority of students start with psychic exercises. So for most people, they start on the psychic. So the psychic is much easier to access for most people. However, if you were to start purely doing mediumistic, you're having to learn to do mediumistic and psychic side by side, and then you haven't learned to isolate the energies of the psychic. So because it's harder to connect mediumistically and it's much easier to connect psychically, it's very common for mediums to drop out of the mediumistic onto the psychic. It's very common to drop from being linked to spirit to moving into the psychic. But it's almost impossible to go the other way. I know very few people who can accidentally drop into a spirit connection when working psychically, because it takes energy, it takes effort to connect to the spirit world and to hold that link. So it's generally a one-way flow from moving down from mediumship to psychic. It doesn't tend to go the other way at all. So one way we can understand the energies of the different links, because they are different, is to isolate them. So the easiest way is just to work purely psychically, to work with people on a purely psychic level, to work with their energy field, their aura on a purely psychic level, to get to know the psychic energy, to get to know how that energy feels. And of course, that's what we do naturally within the UK, within our awareness circles. We get people starting on psychic exercises first, and only after a while do we move them on to spirit, onto learning to blend with spirit and do mediumship. So they get to naturally understand the psychic energy. And a reverse exercise we can do is to get people to work purely mediumistically. But to do that, we have to remove the connection with a sitter or a recipient. So generally we get to do that by making the person blindfold, or make them face the wall so they can't see who answers up. Then we get them to make a link with the spirit world and hold that link with spirit and get all the information from the spirit world. And usually the teacher will answer on behalf of the recipient. So if the student is working in front of an audience of fellow students, they would face the wall and be blindfolded. The teacher would ask the audience to respond in a certain way, to give it a thumbs up for yes, a thumbs down for no, not sure, nod for yes, shake their heads for no, don't know. And we're using this technique of communication. So if I have a student working in this way, I'll say, okay, you've got 2 people understanding it so far, more evidence, okay, you're now down to 1. And can they take that? No, that bit is not understood. Go back, yes, that is understood. Can they take the next bit? They're not sure. And so that's how we work. So at no point does the student ever link to the recipient. They're only linking to the teacher's energy. So they can work psychically with me if they want, but it wouldn't be wise. So they're generally connecting purely on a mediumistic level. That's the aim. The aim of that exercise is to isolate the mediumistic link so people get to understand how it feels to work purely mediumistically. The other point I want to say is how to tell if it's psychic or mediumistic. And for me, this is what I would call the acid test, is where's your focus? Where have you placed your mind? If you're with the spirit world and you're receiving evidence from spirit and you're getting evidence and you're asking who are you and you're working with it and getting all the information about them, then generally you're mediumistic. If you're talking to the recipient and you're moving into their energy, then if your focus is upon the recipient, then you're generally working psychic. When we move to why is spirit here and talk to the recipient, we can often get a great deal of psychic information. And at that point, we're moving into the psychic. So wherever our focus is generally determines whether we're getting the information through mediumship or whether we're getting the information through a psychic link. So watch where your focus is. And if your focus is moving to the recipient, the sitter, go back to spirit. Try and stay with spirit. So my advice for mediumship. So for me, the purpose of mediumship is to demonstrate survival. If you're doing a demonstration in a church, in a centre, in front of an audience of people, the purpose is to demonstrate survival and to bring through loved ones, to reconnect loved ones, to bring through evidence. We shouldn't be doing psychic readings from the platform. And I see it in a lot of churches and centres, and I don't like it. And the medium doesn't really link with spirit. They just do psychic readings with the audience, to give the audience. Everyone gets a little psychic snippet, a little psychic message. I don't like it. For me, I don't like to see it. Some tutors I know teach their students to choose someone in the audience, to go there, to start working with them psychically, and then to see if a spirit link comes in. I don't do that. I never teach that. I never teach choosing a recipient, never teach going into their energy psychically first, never. I always teach that we need to start with spirit, because once we go into someone's energy and we'll start working psychically, it's hard to get out the energy. Remember what I said? That to connect with the spirit world mediumistically takes effort. It takes an active, energized state. If you move psychically passively, you take yourself further away from that ability to be able to connect to spirit. So always start by linking to the spirit world. Always start by linking to your spirit communicator. Replicate the exercise I told you about where we do not want to know who our recipient is. So what I do is I teach people to stay with spirit as long as possible and to hold the psychic at arm's length. So by staying with spirit, we know we're working mediumistically, and by getting lots of evidence before we open up a link, then we're not even talking to anyone. We don't know who the recipient is. We can't go psychic. So if you get 5 or 6 good statements of evidence before opening it up, even if you feel you know where in the room you are or who you're with, if you stay with spirit and get information and evidence before we open up, it prevents us going in psychically. And even excellent good mediums who have brilliant direction will start mediumistically, will start building up that evidence before they connect with their recipient. And the metaphor I always use about trying to stay out the energy of the recipient for as long as possible is what I call a traffic policeman metaphor. And if you imagine the spirit world's up there, technically it's not up there. Technically it's all around us, but we're just shifting our vibration. We move our vibration. We increase our vibration, so we often show that as going up. And if you imagine the recipient's in front of me, I don't want any information from the recipient. So I'm holding the recipient at arm's length, and I want information from the spirit world. So come on, spirit, give me information. And I'm holding information away from the recipient. I don't want anything psychically. My focus is purely with spirit. And the only point at which I'm willing to open to the energy psychically of the recipient is when we move to the message. Why are they here? Or why has spirit come forward for you if it's a sitting? I don't want any information from a sitter. I'm working with spirit. Okay, why is spirit here for you? I allow spirit to come forward to blend and be with their loved one. I free them up to be with their loved one. And at that point, I'm happy to work psychically with the energy. I'm happy to work on a mix of mediumistic and psychic. And I can open often I will open naturally to the psychic and what's happening around this person. And the message will often bring in psychic elements as well. So that's important to recognize. And how can you tell if you've dropped during a spirit contact? You're working with spirit, you're doing mediumship. How can you tell if you've dropped down onto the psychic? Are there any clues? Yes, there are. The first one is changes in the speed and flow of evidence and the speed and flow in which you're talking. So if the information is coming through from spirit quite slowly, you're given information, you're getting it, giving it, getting it and giving it. It's coming through relatively slowly. Then all of a sudden, why is spirit here? And you're talking really quickly. Oh, and there's this happening around you and there's that happening around you. You've usually dropped to the psychic. We can tell that that change in speed means you've dropped to the psychic, because if it was all coming through from spirit, it should all come through at the same pace. It should all come through at the speed at which you work with your mediumship. If there's a rapidly increasing rate when you move to the message, you've gone psychic generally. And what's happened is you may have held the psychic at arm's length, and as soon as you've dropped that guard and opened to their energy, this wave of information hits you and we build it in. And there's so much for us to talk about because we've been holding it back, and then like a wave, it washes over us and it's all there and we can give it. Another thing we can look for is if the quality and depth of information changes. So we may start working with spirit and the information we're receiving is quite general, quite generic. There's no real depth to it. And then all of a sudden we start talking about why spirit is here, what is the message? And we're getting all this in-depth information about what's happening around the recipient and what's going on in their lives and people around them. And there's all this detailed information. And the depth of information has increased dramatically. It's gone right up. It shows you've shifted to the psychic. And the psychic may be your natural area of comfort, maybe your comfort zone. Alternatively, we get the reverse. I see the reverse quite commonly as well. So we're working with spirit. We're getting really good evidence and information from the spirit world. It's working really well. And then we need a message. So we're looking for a message, and then we get just generalisms, and it's a bit wishy-washy, it's a bit generic. and there's no real meat on the bones. And what's happened is we've dropped the link with spirit, we've moved psychically, and maybe that's not our comfort zone. And the information we get is just not of the same quality, the same depth. So that shift or change in the quality and depth of information can be a giveaway as to when we've dropped from the mediumistic, from mediumship, onto the psychic. So I hope that you found today's video helpful. I've covered a great deal there for you on how to understand the difference between the psychic and mediumistic links, how to understand how best to work with mediumship to ensure we stay with spirit, and how to tell the difference between the energies and how to tell when we've dropped. So I hope that that is helpful to all developing mediums and even many mediums who are beyond the development stage even. So I hope that you find this helpful. If you like the video, if you like what I've taught, do give it a like, do leave me a comment. If you find my teaching helpful, do subscribe to the channel. I do release a couple of videos per month on mediumship and development topics. If you'd like to support the channel, then do check out my courses, my classes, my products, my study program, all available through my website and store, and I will put links to those in the description below. Also, you can, if you want to support the channel, make a donation. Again, I'll put a link in the description below. But I hope you found the information that I presented today helpful, and I shall look forward to seeing you all again in the next one.